Greetings everyone. I'm going to give you a short video here. So we did the character creation for Symbaroum, and what we're going to do next is we're going to try and play this adventure. It's a three-part adventure. It's the city of eternal Euphoria. So we have the city, we have the game master section, and then we have the adventures. Now, this is about 36 pages. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read through parts of it because the players are supposed to know this information here. Okay, and then we want to look at the map. Now, I was trying to find this place on the map the last time. This is a map of the city itself. And I was looking for the city, and it was on, I was showing you the wrong area as to where I thought it was. So let's see. Let's see. The map is on page 19. These are nice books, hardback, good quality paper. Now, so here, once again, is the forest, and the more you go in, the worse the corruption gets. The elves are, we're not sure exactly where they're at, and of course the barbarians living here and the bad monsters. And we have ruins in here. There's our ruins that you can randomize, and there's, ones that are important ones that are on the map. Okay. So here's Indaros, our capital, and over here is Agrella. And you see the water coming down. It's right near the water. So that is where we're going to be. This is the civilized part. So instead of being one of those adventures in Symbaroum, or going in here and dealing with the corruption, we're going to do more like a town adventure. So that's where it's at. And let's look through this here. Let's look through the player section. Welcome to Agrella. Agrella lies where the rivers Dodrum and Veloma converge into Lake Ebel, and the river Eblis connects central Ambria to Lake Volgoma and the clan territories. Despite its young age of just over 20 years, the city has become the subject of many myths and rumors. It is said that nowhere in Corinthian Nightbane's realm is a victory in the Great War celebrated with such frenzy as here. The people of Agrella are known for their raucous parties, and anyone who has visited the city can attest to the feeling of walking around in a fever dream while in the midst of one. The city's iconic festival season is marked by a sense of intense euphoria, heightened by intoxicants, music, daring costumes, and grand displays by mystics from the main chapter of Ordo Magica. In fact, Agrella is characterized by an almost aggressive optimism all year round. underscored by the city's joy mandate. But it is hard to shake the feeling that something is very wrong, that beneath the polished surface, just out of sight, lies a deep and terrible darkness. Hopefully, this feeling is merely the product of jealousy, rooted in the fact that nowhere else in Umbria do people live so intensely and enjoy the gifts of Prios so thoroughly as here in Agrella. All right, the Pearl of Lake Ebble. The capital of Cassandrian certainly does full justice to its Duchess, Princess Esmeralda. So, we're in Agrella. That's where we're going to be. The capital of Cassandrian, that must be the barony or province, Cassandrian. Also, like Queen Corinthia's younger sister, the city is bubbling with confidence and optimism. The ban on sullenness and despondency proves that the city's inhabitants, like their duchess, are dedicated to realizing the dream of Umbria, as a kingdom bathed in the golden glow of the sun, untainted by darkness. Furthermore, the country's glorious history is celebrated through Agrella's unmatched festivals. These euphoric festivities all show that Agrellans know how to praise a lawgiver by thoroughly cultivating and enjoying his gifts of delicious food, beverages, music, and art. Furthermore, Agrella reflects Princess Esmeralda's reverence for education and higher learning, not least by being home to the main chapter of Ordo Magica. No, the Duchess could hardly wish to enjoy the allegiance of a more appropriate city. Okay. Okay, capital of Cassandrian, and the Duchess is Princess Esmeralda. Okay. First impressions. Okay. Oh, and this right here, this boat, a warship of the Osprey class on patrol. These modern ships are the spearhead in the small but expanding Ambrian fleet. So first impressions. The first thing that strikes a visitor to Agrella is the contrast. The oldest districts, Calvera and Serrano, bear clear architectural traces of the Albanian city and region of Berendoria, from which most of the first settlers came. Here, the visitor wanders down narrow cobbled streets to open into small squares, lined with various establishments. The ruined remains of Menandros, the city which, according to Ordo Magica, was founded here centuries ago by the exiled Andarian priestess Manaval, can also be seen throughout Agrella. The more varied districts of Cyprio, Pine Isle, and the Cauldron are simpler and seem to have been built with greater haste. There are far fewer ruins and traces of Berendoria. Living conditions are poorer and the population is marked by a harder life. Agrella also has a distinctly military character due to the Cassandrian Archer Regiment in Cyprio and the naval base at Mariner's Court. In sharp contrast to the nearby displays of military discipline stands the bohemian spirit of Pine Isle and the hedonism of Sarado in the Mariner's Court. Okay. So, a little background on the districts there. the crest of the city, symbolizing how Prius gathered the refugees from Alborator to a new home. Everyone in Agrella knows of the events below. Those who do not experience them firsthand have heard the stories many times. However, the darker or sadder episodes are only discussed in private, as mentioning them in public may result in a fine. Okay. So the founding of Agrella, Oro Magica arrives. That's going to be, your magic guild. The introduction of the Joy Mandate, the Grove Feud, the Sorrow Plague, the disappearance of Kathame. Okay. So let's go over these things briefly. The Ambrian campaign against Clan Cadiz is the episode that receives most attention in Ambrian historiography. Fewer chronicles have been written about the larger groups of Ambrian migrants who simultaneously set off across the mountains in other directions. And these people, these colonizers, when they reached their destination, found that the area had been previously settled. Here were the ruins of Menandros, on which several of Agrella's major buildings were later erected. So these people are fleeing from Agrella and forming this kingdom, and I believe the Agrellan kingdom is not on the map, it's to the south. And that's like the first adventure, and you travel down through the mountains to get to Davokar or to Umbria and Davokar. Okay, Oro Magica arrives about a year after. Then there was an introduction of the Joy Mandate, an unofficial ban on public displays of grief and anger was introduced in the first years after the establishment of what would become Agrella. The first settlers to arrive in the region were fatigued by the effects of war, the hatred of the Dark Lords, the grief of what had been lost, and the fear and uncertainty about the future. This new place in the new kingdom would be marked by joy at the victory and what it had brought. A new lush home for the people. A tradition, therefore, emerged of admonishing the downcast for not showing the proper settled spirit. So you can actually be fine if you don't walk around smiling and happy, or if you act like angry or something. Okay. The Grove feud. 6 years ago, a small wooded area on Pine Isle became the subject of a conflict that came to be known as the Grove feud. It began when the city council decided that the trees should be cut down for economic purposes. This caused great outrage in the district. At first, a few locals tried to physically fend off the loggers, which only resulted in fines and felled trees. Then some began to perch themselves on the treetops, risking ribs and femurs to stop the logging. This form of protest quickly spread. People flocked to the grove to climb its trees. Others supported the tree sitters with food. Workers from the sewing house, led by seamstress Sabrina, began to make warm clothes for the protesters. Eventually, the local liturgist, Father Olisario, came to the grove to lead hymns of support. And the Goblin Medicus Buckalaclot Baggy showed up with a band of goblins who also climbed the trees. The City Watch had no idea how to handle the bizarre situation. The joyous atmosphere in the grove made it difficult to find people for violating the Joy Mandate. And whenever someone was pulled down from a tree, another protester took their place. After a 2-week deadlock, the city council was forced to negotiate. Okay, the Sorrow Plague. The incident occurred at the Night Slaughter Festival 3 years ago during First Theurg Ormelda's ceremony at the Great Sun Temple. So those are the priests. A group of listeners suddenly began to weep uncontrollably. Their sobs echoed in the high dome of the temple. After a while, the First Theurg's hymn was interrupted, as the crying grew so loud that it could not possibly be ignored. It then became apparent to everyone present that roughly half the audience were bawling their eyes out. Esmeralda's panther escort quickly removed the Duchess, while the priest and watchman drove the crowd out of the temple and aborted the ceremony. This proved disastrous. As the weepers took to the streets, the sobs spread like wildfire through Agrella. Soon there were crying people everywhere. The City Watch issued heavy fines for violating the joy mandate, to no avail. While individual residents tried to comfort their frantically sobbing loved ones, this tearful episode lasted almost 24 hours, but some claim that the weepers could still be seen long afterwards in the dark corners of taverns or out in the streets at night. To this day, no one knows what caused the event that came to be known as the Sorrow Plague, as it spread like a disease through the city. It is said that the incident contributed greatly to the Duchess's decision to establish the Joy Guard later that festival season. Discussing the incident in public is, of course, punishable by fine. The disappearance of Kifame. During last year's festival of Unsung Heroes, Steward Cafario's son Kifame organized a large masquerade ball in parallel with the main event, the Night of Mask. It is said that the competition between events was unusually fierce that year, and that jealousy simmered between those who arranged them. Kafame's ball is widely believed to have been so spectacular that it even outshone the Night of Mask. The next morning, the steward's son was discovered missing. Numerous search parties were sent out to no avail, and wild rumors spread about what had happened to him. Had someone killed him or kidnapped him? Rumor mongers have pointed to the Ordo Magica, the Admiral, and even the steward himself as suspects. Some believe that the head of Serrado Collegium, Thologai, who was crowned King of Masks, could not tolerate being outshone and decided to act. The wildest rumors claim that Kafame performed a corruption ritual during the ball and actually banished himself to the yonder world. Truth be told, no one knows what became of the man. Okay, so here, it's a peninsular, and you can see some of the districts around islands. But that's a little map. There's Ciprio, Serrado, Calvera, Pine Isle, the Codron, War Isle, Elder Island, Mariner's Court, Black Isle, the Sun Islets, Knight's Isle. Okay, so districts. Agrella is grown in stages. We discussed the district before. This is talking about them in more detail. I want to read about this real quick. The Knight's Isle and the Sun Islets. The district consists of 3 small islands on Lake Ebble and is the noblest corner of Agrella. The buildings consist mainly of large houses with impressive fenced gardens. Knight's Isle and the Sun Islet are characterized by an isolating calm. The only place where you are likely to encounter people other than the district residents is down by the square of Glorious Peace on Knight's Isle. There the occasional fisherman or visitor to the Flaming Pine Inn may be seen strolling around the square or visiting the armory at the nearby marina. Islanders tend to their boats or sail them in and out of the harbor. Anyone entering the Wisher's Night Isle via the bridge from the peninsula needs to pass the toll house on the mainland side and pay the daunting toll of a whole shilling. Most Agrellans therefore refrain from visiting the island. In the past, all Agrella's bridges bore tolls, but the tariffs were abolished by the city council and steward 4 years ago due to practical difficulties they caused for traders and townspeople. However, the Haldomed Collegium negotiated a maintenance of the fees, even raising the bridge's toll. Okay. Okay, so there's many different festivals here in the City of Festivals. The battle of organizers. Successfully organizing any of the festivals is a great honor that can result in prestigious positions and generate significant income. The same applies to organizing any of the major elements of the celebrations, such as the dawn procession during Victory Fest, or any of the private events held at the same time as the night of Mask. However, these assignments are not without risk. Organizers who skimp on food, drink, or entertainment are often reminded of these mistakes for years, potentially ruining their careers. Competition for these coveted positions is fierce. Aspiring organizers would do well to secure the backing of influential groups, and at the same time need to understand their competitors' plans to counter their moves. Bribery, threats, beatings, and arson have all been reported over the years. Organizers who fail to live up to the public's expectations may risk both money and health by incurring the displeasure of the mob and the powers that be. If there is one thing Esmeralda and Stuart Cafario cherish, it is Agrella's reputation as a city of eternal euphoria, and the festivals are the ultimate symbol. So it's a city of many festivals, but it's city of eternal euphoria. So there's night slaughter, or scattering of eternal night, celebrated on the first day of the year, in the middle of the summer, and marks the beginning of the festival season. The festival commemorates the defeat of the Dark Lords, and is Umbria's most important annual occasion for national unity. Festival of Unsung Heroes, celebrated on the last day of summer, is to commemorate those who fell in the Great War without their names being recorded. The Brewing Spree is not listed in the festival calendar, but is a much appreciated interlude in Agrella's festival season. It takes place over 7 days leading up to the first Sunday of Tomal, the fourth month of the year. And then we have the Victory Fest. It is widely believed that the war against the Dark Lord ended in the fall on the 6th day of Solela, the 5th month, with the rescue of Queen Corinthia and the slaying of the Dark Lord. Traditionally, Ambrians are encouraged to honor the day with at-home ceremonies and memorials. The idea is for all night-bane subjects to reflect on how the light vanquished the Dark Lords, like Founding Day. Founding Day commemorates the official birth of Ambria in year 5, when the borders of the kingdom were drawn and all the fiefdoms formed allies. Like a fiefdom. So that's what Caslardrian is, a fiefdom. And then we have landmarks like the naval base, the cave of purest fire. So, authority. We have a citadel, and the steward is Stuart Cafario, Prince Esmeralda's representative in the city and duchy. So, Agrella is ruled by the governing body that handles the day-to-day running is the city council. And it gives you the members here. I'm just going to put down the page. And there's a Sun Church. Some prophets of doom make it sound as if the Sun Church is weaker in Agrella than elsewhere, but this is hard to believe given the enthusiastic congregations of the city's three distinctive sun temples. Okay, so the city's got three sun temples, and it's very popular. The great sun temples in Calvera. And in some contrast, a small sun temple has for the past year been headed by a young liturg named Rizla. The first theurg, or Melda, so the senior, is there. And Father Melander. Never remember all these names. So that's our main religion and priest. And then we have Orgo Magica, that's like our Magician's Guild. So the Agrella chapter, Ordo Magica, which is also the organization's headquarters, is located on the somewhat remote Black Isle along with the Cyrillea Collection Library. Ordo Magica conduct research and lectures on the island. The latter are mainly for novices and adepts, but some are open to the public. The Cyrillea Collection also welcomes visitors from outside the order. Okay. Okay, the district collegiums. An odd feature of Agrella, as any visitor staying more than a few days will quickly realize, is that many of the residents' interactions take place within the framework of the district of collegiums. The city's early settlers brought this tradition of local organization with them from Berindoria. When Agrella's government became more firmly established under the guardianship of Duke Cesario, most expected him to dissolve the collegiums, but to the surprise of many, he did not. Okay. So there's like a Calvera collegium is the city's first and most tradition-steeped collegium. Here, Elder Olviana, who came to the city with Windwalker's expedition, presides over the usually long-winded weekly meetings or congresses. These are based on irrelevant customs and end with a dinner of rye porridge and strong brew. Despite its archaic practices and inefficient administration, membership in Agrella's oldest district collegium carries great prestige. But what do? Cerrado Collegium. Thanks to many successful merchants and traders living in the district, Cerrado is the richest collegium in Agrella. So these are like guilds, I believe. And that's going to be like the Merchants Guild. In the years under Spice Importer Master Falogi's leadership, its operation has expanded considerably with lavish events during the festivals and generous public services. The popular sweet sleepers who keep Cerrado clean are the most famous example of the latter. Envious tongue whisper about Fologoi has manipulated and bribed his way to success, but no one can deny his commitment to Cerrado and the city. Okay. So like Alfino Collegium is shipping and trade. Howdome. They look after the islands. In Girona, Avendora. institutions and establishments. So here it's talking about the some of the like major taverns and things. Other places, a distillery, the Quail, a neighborhood haunts. The Quail, the clientele may be rowdy, and some of the patrons will likely be discussing less than legal business. But the fried quail is worth the trouble. Okay, and then we have housing, how much they charge for rooms. Some more inns. So these are taverns, I guess, and these are inns. So an inn, you can get a place to stay. Sometimes inns just offer simple fare, and if you want a good meal, you gotta go to the tavern. And here's a big map of the city, major locations marked. Hope y'all didn't hear that, somebody slamming doors. And it's got food and drink, housing, entertainment, trade, landmarks, parks and squares, miscellaneous. So it's very good. All the major things you need to go. And then of course there's entertainment, trade if you need to go get like Gramps cheese, the Armory, House of Medicaments, the flea market, knowledge and information, and the surroundings, the villages. So there are 7 villages in the vicinity of Agrella. Many of the city's day visitors are from there. So that's for this adventure. Are we going to go out, perhaps, and have to hex crawl? Or is that just so you can expand upon this? So Birchfield, Birch Bay, Roosevelt, Sollowdale, Wayside, Bark Village, Goldwater's over here. And of course this right here is our peninsula. That's Agrella. Okay. Part 2, the Game Master section. So I'm not going to read that either because I don't want to know too much. See how it works out. Let's see. So we'll get into the background more when we start playing on the next episode. But let's just look at this real quick. Introduction. This must be an enemy. See right this picture here? It says the realm of the order does not even refrain from using corruption to plunge Agrella into chaos. In this campaign, designed to let the players discover Agrella, the city of eternal Euphoria, the player characters are drawn into a series of events that will allow them to uncover a conspiracy against the city and its inhabitants. It involves secret plots against individual festival organizers, a high-profile assassination attempt on one of them, and sinister plans to spread corruption and blight among the population, all likely resulting in a final showdown with the antagonist. So, how much is the player supposed to know? Should I even know that? Let's see, the Barefoot Theurg. In the past year, a religious reliable has sprung up in the countryside of Prios Domain and Naragar, led by Sarlia, a Theurg from Swindale village in the barony of Gorndor. She has stopped wearing shoes as a display of humility, in addition to preaching the need for increased purity and zeal. Charles maintained that Ambria's current misfortunes were a result of softness shown to heretics at the time of the exaltation. She argues that it is not enough to weed out heresies in Ambria alone, but that only a sun march, a holy war against the apostate realm of the order, can set things right and give the sun god the power needed to save his loyal servants. Sarlia therefore calls upon her followers and worldly rulers to prepare by gathering weapons and stockpiling provisions. For the moment, when she will lead people across the mountains and cleanse the realm of the order with fire. Okay. The course of the campaign. As previously mentioned, the outrage of betrayed brethren takes place over 3 acts, spanning more than 3 months, with each act tied to one of the festivals. In between the acts, the gaming group is encouraged to take a break from the campaign to make use of the adventure seed presented in Section 2, or develop ideas that has emerged while playing. What we might do is spend experience points. But I'll look at the adventure seeds to see if it's something really calls out to me. We have intrigue, assassination, and chaos, so the 3 acts. Let's see. Page 72 is the adventure locations map. I think this is the map we want to use. Well, as well. So give the game master these places. Okay, let me try this again. The campaign features a number of locations in addition to the ones described in Section 1. To give the game master an easy overview, these places are marked on the following map of Agrella. Okay, and it's just the same locations as from before. Okay. As previously mentioned, it is essential to the campaign that the player characters have a connection to Agrella that can motivate them to engage with what is happening as the events of intrigue begin to unfold. It is recommended that the gaming group together create the foundation that provides such a connection and hooks for the players to use in the game. This section offers ideas for that process. It may also be wise to read through Section 1 to get an overview and ideas for people and places that will be interesting to tie the characters to. So the easiest way is probably to start the campaign with newly created characters. But if the gaming group would rather adapt characters from previous adventures, it should be possible to insert them. So I'm using characters from the previous, and we'll just say they're going for the festival, something like that. Or it says here sell swords. They could be going for business. The player should choose a place in the city to be the group's home, the district and neighborhood where they live and work. Using the information in Section 1, they can pick the district that suits the characters and their activities, and then describe what the place looks like. A ready-made example to use as is or draw inspiration from is the neighborhood of Robello, described below. Okay. and contacts. So I'm going to go over this and decide where we're going to be and where our contacts are. And I'll look at the beginning of the adventure here to see what we're supposed to do. Okay, so please give us a like and subscribe, and you can click the notification bell. We're going to try and post a little more regularly here. Might not happen until after the holidays, but yeah, we appreciate you, and looking forward to starting this solo play here. And we'll see you next time.